Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Chunky back up in this motherfucker. So, I'm feeling real like relaxed. Just finished getting ready, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta do a video for my people. Like, I can't leave them hanging like this. And y'all don't know, I really feel guilty when I do. So, first and foremost, I have to say before I get started, yapping away, telling my little story. I'm pregnant. So if I run out of breath or if I'm like huffing and puffing, that's because a baby is sitting on my bladder and my uterus and my lungs and my whole body organs, and I can't breathe. Okay, so with that being said, today I'm going to be talking about you know I talk a lot, I say a lot of stories about, you know, things I went through with my biological mother, and I know it's sometimes confusing between when I talk about like on my social medias and things about today, when I talk about my mother, my biological mother, and I talk about my mom, which I call my mom my aunt. It's not that difficult, it's not that confusing here at home, because people already know when I speak about my mom today, I'm talking about my aunt. And if you hear noise, the cat. But when I speak about my biological mother, I don't speak about her ever. Like in day-to-day life, I don't speak about her at all. So it's not that confusing here, but I know it's confusing for you guys because you guys hear the stories and you guys have heard my previous stories. And if you haven't and you're new here, what's up? I'm Chunky Monkey. Scroll through my channel and check out my other story times about my life and stuff like that. I know I have to talk a little bit before I talk more, but you know, it's been a while. And I have to explain some things. So before I get onto the story, these stories are not to ever make anybody feel sorry for me. They're purely for entertainment, purely for you to get to know me and kind of get to know where I'm coming from and where I came from and what I've been through. And you know, it might help people, it might help somebody out there, which hopefully it does. Okay, so let's get on to the story. So I know I talk a lot about things that I went through with my biological mother, but today I'm going to be talking about, you know, things I went through with my aunt, which AKA I call her mom. Okay, so I'm only calling her aunt here purely for you, so you guys won't get confused. So you know, when I was a baby, I was given to my aunt. When my biological mother had me, but I was always in between my aunt and my mom, my aunt and my mom. And my mom, my biological mother, only ever took me from my aunt when she felt convenient to. Okay, so if she needed me to, you know, purely, if she needed me to clean, or she needed me to help her with chores, or she needed me to help her watch my my brothers, if she needed me purely for other reasons that I'm not gonna say, if she, like, purely, basically, she always only took me back because for her own stupid purposes, not because she wanted to see her daughter, not because she missed me, not because she loved me. I never felt that way. And if she did, I don't know, because I really don't want to talk about that. I really don't want to know anymore. Like, I'm good, I'm happy, I'm content, like, I'm good, you know? So, you know, it was always between me and her. So so when I was a little baby, you know, my biological mother had mental issues, and for whatever reason, she could not take care of me. My aunt was helping her take care of me when she had her, also because my aunt was staying with my dad and my mom, which my aunt is my dad's sister. So she was helping my mom, and it became easy for my biological mother to just kind of like pawn me off, because whatever is easier for her is what she likes, you know? And I don't have any anger against my mother, my biological mother. I'm good, and I feel like that's why I'm so good in life. That's why I'm so, you know, happy, and I could like kind of like just be the mom that I want to be, is because I just let things go. And as long as she leaves me alone, and as long as there's nothing conflicting me right now, I'm good, you know? So I don't want anybody else out there to think like you know, I'm angry or whatever. So um it was easy for her to, you know, kind of just, my aunt made it easy for her to just kind of like leave me with her, you know what I mean? And eventually things became very hard, I guess, mentally for my mom. And eventually my aunt just kind of like took the role of my mom. My aunt couldn't have children, so it was kind of like a win-win. You know, my aunt couldn't have children. I my biological mother was not stable enough to in her mind mentally to take care of me, so it was like a win-win. It could have been a really good situation, like it could have been a really good trade-off, because, you know, my aunt was a beautiful person. And the only reason why I get emotional is not because, I'm not getting emotional because my biological mother. I'm getting emotional because I could speak about my aunt and think about what she has been through and what she has done for me, and I could cry in a second. Okay, in a second. Not even because I'm pregnant. Even before I was pregnant, I could cry in a heartbeat just thinking about what my aunt has done for me. So you know, it could have been a good trade-off, but it wasn't, because it was constantly a mind game, a mind fuck. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it was constantly a mind fuck, mind game, because it was like, give me my child, here she's back, I want her, okay, never mind, oh, I'm getting her taken away by the state, you know, I'm getting my kids taken away. Like, it was just a push and a pull and a push and a pull. It was like, it was just a lot, you know, when it could have been just, here's the child, like, take care of her, I know you're taking care of her well, like, I could, you know, I would see her occasionally, and it could have been good, but it was not good, because of the push and the pull. So my childhood with my aunt was very kind of like, I knew we didn't have the world, but between, oh shit, I don't want to cry. Between me and my aunt, we had the world. Okay, I don't want to mess up my makeup. So between me and my aunt, we had the world, you know, like, we didn't have everything, but we had, I felt so loved that I didn't need shit, you know? I remember, you know, as a little girl living, you know, in different places. I lived with, she lived with her first husband, which they raised me like a family, but then their relationship broke up, because he was abusive. But he was never abusive towards me. He loved me. He always showed me love. He taught me things. I will always appreciate what her first husband, which I used to call him Daddy Ruben, I will always appreciate the love. God, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, you guys. I will always appreciate the love that he showed me, and how he taught me how to be a strong woman. And even though him and my aunt were in a tumultuous, toxic relationship, I still pulled from it love. So you know, when that was over, she was kind of like, where do I go? Like, what do I do? You know, because we lived in a house with him and his dad, and it was like a pretty big house. And I've talked about this house before, but this house was like totally haunted when I was a little girl, and I think I've talked about this before. And so so then it was like, where do we go, you know? My aunt and her husband were living in this apartment, and behind this apartment, you know, because they were barely making it themselves, you know, they had 2 children, they were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and, you know, it was like, we're not gonna all fit in this little apartment. So my aunt began to rent this little trailer in the back, and it wasn't a trailer like you think it is. It was basically like a motorhome, like the ones you drive, like a really small one. And oh man, if I could, I'm gonna try to look for a picture so I can insert, so I can insert kind of like what it looked like. But to me, you guys, like, my biological mother used to really try to tear me down because of this, because I lived in a trailer, and she would call me trailer trash, and they would make fun of me. They would say I was trailer trash, I lived in a trailer, blah blah blah, whoop-de-whoop. If you live in a trailer now, fuck everybody. If you're happy and you feel love from your family or whatever, fuck what anybody thinks. Fuck everybody, okay? Just fuck everybody. So when we got this little trailer, you guys, I don't even remember how old I was. I don't even remember. I gotta ask my mom, but my mom, meaning my aunt, but my mom might not even remember either because she's getting older. But when we moved there, I remember being so happy, like just being so happy, you guys. Like, you guys don't even understand how happy I was. Like, I thought it was like a Barbie house. Like, to me, even my mom was like overjoyed. I mean, my aunt was even overjoyed of how happy I was to live there, because I'm pretty sure, you know, she was a little worried about, because I remember her seeing how happy I was, and she was just like overjoyed at how happy I was. We had a comfortable bed. I remember that little tiny trailer was just so comfortable. Like, it was, I loved it. It was like one of those trailers to where you walk in and it has the bed on this side, and then it has like a little nook where you could eat, and then the table turned into another little bed, and then there's a restroom, and then there's a little kitchen. Okay, so the little kitchen was more towards the front. So, oh, okay, it was like the type of trailer. It was a type of trailer that you haul, that you pull. I'm sorry, my bad. It wasn't like the one you drive. It was like the one you pull, like you hook it onto like your truck or something, and you could pull it with you. And then I remember it still had wheels. It had wheels, and the front wheel had like this big long thing that you attach to your truck, and then it had like, they kind of put like not rocks, but what are those things called? Bricks, like bricks to hold it like evenly. So that's how it was. And you know, there was lots of good times in that trailer. I remember my brothers coming over. I remember my cousins sleeping over. That little trailer was just full of love and full of like happiness and fun and good times. Even though sometimes our restroom didn't work, because it was like, our restroom was like one of those restrooms where you have to like put a septic tank and stuff like that, and sometimes it didn't work. It was broken down, and we would have to shit in bags, and we would have to shit in buckets. I shit you not. And even though, you know, that was like kind of fun, you know, like everything was like kind of like fun. Everything that I went through was fun, and people can take it as it was like a horrible way to live, but at the end of the day, like, I loved it because everybody wanted to be there. Everybody wanted to sleep over. Everybody wanted to be with us, no matter how we were living. You know what I mean? I remember my brothers and their friends coming over, sleeping over, would make room in our little trailer. I remember my cousins sleeping over, having a good time. And my cousins that lived in the front always wanted to be over. And it was just like, it was just an amazing time and an amazing lesson that you don't need this and you don't need that, and you just, all you need is love, because that's the way it was. And we had a little tiny fridge, and our fridge could only hold so much, but I remember our fridge was always so full. And you know, and it's funny because our fridge was always so full, but my favorite food was cup of noodles. Like, that was my favorite. Cup of noodles, top ramen with egg. Like, we would hook it up, you know. Sometimes we didn't have everything, but I never was hungry. Like, I never felt hungry, and I never I never knew that I was like not rich, you know. So, you know, I got a call, so I had to start over again. But, you know, I just really never took it as I was like poor or anything, because, you know, I started to realize it after, when I started to get like bullied about it. When I started to get bullied about it by my own biological mother, that I lived in a trailer, you know, and then I started to think like, then I started to realize and think like, okay, you know, I live in a trailer, right? And that's only when I started to think about it, and only when I started to like feel sorry for myself. And you know, one night I was laying with my aunt in our little trailer, and me and her were talking about it, and I was telling her, you know, I feel bad about living in this trailer, you know, like my biological mother made me feel bad about it. And she told me, she just like was like an angel, and she just handled it so well. And she was just like, baby, like, you live in a trailer, but have you ever felt hungry? You know, did you even know like that you lived in a trailer up until, you know, your mom pointed it out? And I was like, no, I've always been happy. She's like, has your fridge ever been empty? I'm like, no. She's like, it doesn't matter, like, I love you. And you know what, she said, one day we're gonna live, your dreams are gonna come true. That's what she said. My dreams are gonna come true, and we're gonna have a house. And we're gonna have a house. And she's like, what do you want to have in your house? And I'm like, oh, I want, you know, this, and a big window in the front, and I want a porch, and I want grass I could play on, and I want a pool. Like, I really want a pool. And I remember after that, kind of like, you know, praying every night. We'd pray, and she would tell me to pray to God for a pool, like for a house with a pool. And we prayed every night, and eventually, you know, it happened. Like, it really did happen. Like, it was just so crazy, you know. It kind of took some time for God to answer our prayers, but it did happen. And we moved from the trailer to like a little tiny house, a back house. And I was like, okay, we moving on up, you know, like we moving on up to a little like a little back house, tiny little back house. But it was a little bit, it was like, you know, an actual little house. And then my aunt, eventually, she met her husband, and he bought us a house. Like, he really did buy us a house, and with a pool. And it was like, and we sat there, and I remember she, like, us always just smiling at each other. And we sat there, and she was like, remember I told you we were gonna get a house with a pool? And I was just like, yeah, you know. My aunt did everything. My aunt did everything that, you know, she could for me, to give me the best life, even though we didn't have everything, you know. And I just want to tell anybody out there, like, that's going through anything, always keep that love in your heart, always keep that faith in your heart, and always make the best out of whatever you have, you know. Don't take it as, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or, you know, I don't have the same as the other person. Just always stay humble, and always stay in faith, and always just make the best out of every situation. That's what I learned. Make the best out of every situation. And with that being said, I love you guys. And this is a little emotional, because when I talk about my aunt, which I never call her aunt, I call her mom till this day. But when I talk about her, when I think about the stuff we went through, and like it makes me cry. It makes me so emotional. It doesn't make me sad, it makes me emotional. And because of how much love, you know. But with that being said, I love you guys. Stay chunky because chunky is beautiful. Peace out. If you like this, give it a thumbs up and comment something so I can comment back. I read all your comments. Even though I don't comment back, I'm still scrolling through that shit, reading every motherfucking comment. Woo! Love you guys. Peace out.